Welcome to the Spin It DVD. On this DVD I'm going to show you how that you can make your own yarn, your own 2-ply yarn from fibers, and from them you can knit your own scarf. Here's a scarf that I made out of Angora rabbit. It's really soft. Here's a hat I'm working on, a little fold-down hat. There's a scarf that I'm working on. This is the same one that you'll be learning to be able to knit after you spin it. Spin the fibers, spin your own fibers from camel down. You can spin from other fibers also. Here is another scarf that I made. Let's have a camel down. Here's a camel down rug I did a long time ago. It'll last forever. And here's some little glovelets that I did these about 20 years ago. Spinning is fun. It's a wonderful way to spend your time. It gets in your blood. It's something that you could do and create something, to create a scarf that'll be with you forever. I hope you enjoy it. I've developed the Spin It system so that you can spin your own yarn, make a 2-ply fiber in the ease of your home. Doesn't take up much space. Consists of a drop spindle. They call this a Gandhi drop spindle. Spins like a top. If you can see it that way, you can see it this way. Spins like a top. That's why they call it a drop spindle. There's also these spindles that I've created. These are floor spindles. Put them on your leg, spin it, and it spins around. You have your cores here, which will hold some of your yarn for the 2-ply. 2-ply fiber is 2 individual ply fibers, single ply fibers that you spin into a 2-ply fiber. You spin them together. It makes a stronger and a softer yarn. I've also developed this I call the real Swift Skeiner. It comes apart very easily. It can be used to wind your yarns on, to hold 2 spools here, to spin them into the one, to set your yarns after you're done. Just put them on there. We'll learn about that, how to set your fibers. And of course there'll be a little bit on knitting. I'm no expert on knitting, but if you make the fibers, the yarn, you're going to want to knit something out of them. So we'll learn how to knit a basic scarf, which is very warm and very soft. And the DVD system, or it comes with a DVD, which will explain everything, I hope. So, all yarns are made from fibers. You have your wool, basic wools. This is a Shetland wool. The fiber length on these is probably 3-4 inches. It's a nice long fiber. You have your wool fibers of various lengths, and this is camel down. It's a nice fuzzy little fiber. This is what we'll mainly be working with, although the Spin It system is good for many different kinds of fibers. The exception of silk, which is reeled. It can be spun into fibers, but silk is reeled off of a cocoon. Acrylic fibers and man-made fibers are extruded. They're not really spun, but most fibers, you got your linen, cotton, wool, Angora from goats, the hairs from animals, is a matter of taking the fibers and twisting them into a yarn. It's a very important concept. You twist and pull, twist and pull. This way you create fibers into yarn. There's basic ways of doing this is with a spinning wheel or a spindle. Spinning wheels are faster, of course, but they take up a lot of space and they're expensive. You can start with this inexpensive system using drop spindles and floor spindles. I'm going to start by showing you how to use a floor spindle, and we're going to start with, because it's bigger and easier to see, I'll show you how to spin on this, and then we'll transfer that knowledge onto the smaller drop spindle. You take your wool, any wool, you fluff it up. They make carding combs like these where you can actually comb it. They're like huge dog brushes. Comb it out. And then you unroll it. You roll it into what the French call, I believe, a roulade. This is a prepped piece of wool. It's just all the fibers are separated and they're set for easy spinning so that they'll pull apart from each other. This is your drop spindle, which comes with a spin it package. You attach a length of yarn. You can use any kind of yarn. You don't have to use this, your own stuff that you spun, to it just to get it started. The way you use a drop spindle is to set it on the floor and twirl it against your knee. Let me get a close-up of that. Where the skill or the art of spinning comes in is the amount of spin that you've created here you put into the V. If there's too much twist in this section of yarn, it will twist up into your main and pull out too much into the main group of wool. You don't want that. If there's too little, it'll just pull apart. So the key is controlling through this V right here how much twist you feed, how fast you feed these fibers in to the yarn. You'll develop a feel for it. It doesn't take long. Extra twist. You can also control how thick the yarn is by how many fibers you feed into the twist. When you're done, you wind it up into the base. And then go again. Always going in the same direction. Now I'm doing this, I don't know if it's right-handed or left-handed. You can do it the opposite way too, whatever's more comfortable for you. The important thing is to always twist in the same direction. You could go counterclockwise. If you go counterclockwise when you make two-ply yarn, you're going to go the reverse clockwise when you put the two pieces of yarn together. So you develop a rhythm. The spinning, once you get the hang of it, doesn't take a whole lot of time. It's actually enjoyable. I sit here and watch TV while I'm doing it. Develop a rhythm. What I call a knee spindle or floor spindle is really for your coarser yarns, thicker yarns. It works good for that. But when you start getting into spinning finer and smaller yarns, you need more twist faster. This is what we use. This is why we use a drop spindle. it spins like a top. Put it in a bowl. You can use any bowl. I use this Tibetan bowl. Spin it around, and it spins like a top. Get your leader. The spin it system comes with a leader attached already, which is an example for approximate size. Now, when you start, you find a clump on the end of your leader and just kind of fuzz it out so it has some fuzzies there on the end of it. And then you lay your clump of fibers over that so that when you add twist to it, they'll join. Get my bowl here. So you give it a good spin, start some, and then feed it in. Once again, this is a finer yarn. Alright, so I'm pulling a little faster because this spins a lot faster. You get more rotations per second than with that one, with the floor spindle. And I started off to get a little rough. Got a big clump there, but that's okay. I'll leave that for the next set. When you're done, you just unwind it and then wind it up again on the base. The concept is the same. You feed, you don't constantly spin, but you develop a rhythm where you put a little spin in, feed, little spin, feed. You'll see the fiber twisting into the yarn. When you run out of twist, give it another little spin and feed. You'll be able to tell. If there's not enough twist, it won't twist up here in the V. So as long as your arm, as far as your arm will extend out, whatever's comfortable, you'll develop your own rhythm. Okay, you get that twisted. Now with finer yarns, which the camel down, which we're using now, is, you need more twist. Put a little extra twist into it. That's why we're using the faster drop spindle. You want to twist it till you get some good twisties built up when you let go. Especially for a 2-ply yarn, because we're going to unwind it a little as we add the two 1-ply yarns together to make the 2-ply. It's going to unwind. So you want some, 8 or 10 different little twisties in here in the yarn. Continue to wind it up, and then feed it in with that V with your thumb and whatever finger you're using there. Don't worry about occasional clumps. Occasional clumps are fine. That's part of the quality of this yarn that you're going to be making. It's going to have little clumps. It's going to be natural. Okay? Now if it gets too thin or it breaks or something, just go back to a part that's a little thicker, pull it apart, fluff it up, start over. You can't make a mistake. At least one that can't be undone. And just allow that twist to feed into your yarn. It doesn't have to all be exactly the same size, just approximately. Each scarf will be unique, each yarn will be unique. You build yourself up until you've filled up the spindle. You just keep doing it. It's really relaxing once you get the hang of it. Remember the V, add the twist, feed the yarn by pulling. Just slowly take your time. Put your extra twist in till you get all your twisties. And wind it onto the base. I'm going to put a big clump here. Try and get a clump. Okay, if you get too much of a big clump, you can go back and just pull it slightly till it's about the size that you want it. And then add some twist. That'll set it. Put your extra twist in since we're making a 2-ply yarn. You need the extra little twisties. And just continue that till you get a nice full little spindle. You've got your spindle full of yarn. You add it to a spool. These are the spools that come with the spin it system. Put a rubber band on your, just big fat rubber band, double it over, stick it on your floor spindle, and then put the cone over it. That'll hold this from going around. And then you just, initially you just tie it, and then wind it from the floor, the drop spindle onto here. Now, when that's full, you're going to keep adding to this with each spindle full. You're going to take the end, I'll show you. There's a picture of the end with the little fluff. Take a little bit of fluff from the end where you're working the yarn and just lay them together. You can even mix them in a little bit. And then add some twist and just feed that into there, and the two pieces will join. So you'll end up with one continuous, very long stretch of yarn. I'll show you as I join them. Here I have what I've just spun, and I'm going to add it to my length. Put them together and allow the twist to go in, and they will just join right together and just become one piece. The yarn will lock itself together. And if it, that's a little loose, I'll put a little more twist into it. Always spinning in a clockwise direction until you get a solid piece. And this way you can make your scarf out of one entire piece of yarn. Now if I could find my bowl, here it is. I'll do this on my lap so that you can see. I'm just going to set the spindle in the bowl. Usually I set it on the floor, but I'm putting here so you can see it. And then just wind. Take out all the twists, and then just unwind from the spindle onto your core. Wind it all up. Till you've emptied your spindle. And then find a big thick part, untwist it, set this part aside, because you're going to keep adding to this till you have 2 ounces of spun single ply yarn. And then you've still got your leader attached to your spindle, and then you can start again. Fill up another spindle.
Well, I know now what I didn't know then. It's a crying shame, senseless sin that I just never said I love you. Guess somehow I wouldn't let you in. You know I wanted to speak, but I couldn't begin. So I just never said I love you. Love is a mystery to me. Love is a mystery to me. Well, I'd swallow my pride, eat my crow, tell you right now, but you don't want to know. Love is a mystery. Was a time we couldn't get enough, but slipped away from tender tough. Hell, I just never said I need you. been rich, had a diamond in the rough, but it turned to stone when you called my bluff. And I just never said I need you. Love is a mystery to me. Love is a mystery to me. Well, I'd swallow my pride, eat my crow, tell you right now, but you don't wanna know. Love is a mystery. Well, it's a mystery how I could be so blind.
Okay, let's talk about lumps. By now you should have the knack down of drawing out with your V in the fibers and putting just enough spin in it to draw out the fibers into a length of yarn. Now, in the length of yarn you'll get various thicknesses. You can call them lumps. Sometimes you'll get little lumps. There's two ways to deal with lumps. One, you can take the fiber down and just gently pull between where the lump is and stretch it out just a little bit and until you get the right thickness, and then that will solve a lot of your problems. Then when you've got it to the thicknesses, you can spin it up till you get the twisties for the 2-ply yarn with the twisties. Let me show you another method. If I can get some lumps in here, see if I can build up some lumps. Pull it out, pull some lumps. Okay, there's some nice lumps. Okay, I got some nice lumps here. You can't see these close up, but you can see this big lump there. Now, another method is you have to be very aware of how much twist you have up in here. Just keep in mind that you have to have enough twist to hold the thread's integrity, so it'll become stay a thread and not just pull apart. Now you can put a little bit of twist and then just pull. You're holding here, you're not feeding anymore. Just pull, and you could till you get it just taut. Now feed out a little more, which as you feed out a little more, it creates less twist in here, and pull. And you can see there's a nice lump right here. As you pull, the lump just evens out. Now you have to keep your eye on the whole length of the thread that you're making, because you don't want it to get too thin in any place. If it gets too thin, it'll just break. So you just gently feed out a little more until the thread becomes even a little more, and then yeah, it's starting now. I'm looking at this lump right here. Feed out a little more, which as I feed out more and the twist comes up here in my finger, there's becomes just a little less twist down here, and that allows that little bit of ease on the twist allows the thread to pull the lumps even. You can see it. Now when you've got it all even, then you put on your extra twist until you can make this yarn strong. I'm going to show you a close-up of this. Get the lumps pulled out. Making sure, you have to make sure the whole time that it's not getting too thin. If it gets too thin in one place, it'll just pull out. So, but it will even out if you do just the right amount of twist. It will even out. You can see how it goes around and around a little bit. And when you get it just to where you want it, that's perfect. And then you spin it, put the extra little twisty in it, till you've got it to where, once again, for 2-ply yarn,